Have you ever thought about your own fragile mortality? Or the crippling scale of the concept of infinite? Or the immense fear followed by the resigned acceptance when it comes to something inevitable? Because routine made me feel all of that. And I decided to take that trauma, double it, and give it to the next person, which would be you, person who needs to throw on a YouTube video to have lunch. So now, it'll be our trauma. I think where routine's narrative excels is it hides a horror story within another horror story. It distracts you with spectacle as it throws danger in your face at every turn, to the point where you kind of dismiss a few minor details until that comes around later on in the game. And in case there was any doubt in your mind, I'm going to spoil the plot of Routine here, but I won't spoil the puzzle solutions because I think this game does a terrific job of giving you barely enough to go off of while allowing your brain the space to connect the dots yourself, and I don't want to rob anybody of this game's puzzle solving experience if you watch this video and decide you want to play it yourself. Routine starts with a shot of the moon, a title card, and a definition for the word routine. An ongoing cycle of natural actions and patterns. There's a voiceover detailing a little bit about the lunar mission's origins.
We started this journey together, chasing the unknown, seeking what we could not see. But now, we're lost.
Then you wake up. You are a senior software engineer tasked with debugging the automated security network, or the ASN, for which some anomalies have been detected. As you go out to assess the situation, you can detect some anomalies yourself. There's also no one else around in Union Plaza. You find out that you were in isolation for a few days before this task started. You pick up a multi-tool known as the Cosmonaut Assistance Tool, or CAT, and with it you are able to gain access to the elevator which leads to the ASN servers. Unfortunately, you can't just waltz on in there because that would make this a pretty quick game, and also you lack the credentials as well as an access code to get into the ASN. Near the ASN terminal is a tape recorder featuring the voice of John Cooper.
We need to shut down the ASN. Everyone's scattered or in hiding. And the only two people with security access to the ASN are me and Kay. If I don't make it... Kay's your only shot. Find her. Shut it down.
He does sound a little bit sick or injured, but his recording gives you a pretty solid lead. Find Kei Koyama. It's worth noting that Routine takes place in the year 1999, which is why there's a VHS and cassette tape aesthetic going on. There's a shuttle on this level of Union Plaza that leads to the living quarters and the mall. At the entrance to the mall, you are greeted by perhaps the cutest robot in existence. The IC shows you the terminal you need to gain access to the mall. There's also a memo showing that there's a training and security meeting on a CAT upgrade known as the UltraView model somewhere in the mall. So that sounds like a good place to start. After signing into the terminal to get access to the mall, you find out that the door isn't working, so you have to go bug the IC about it. And it absolutely warmed my heart to be able to interact with IC once again. It shows you the way to get into the mall and bids you farewell. At one point, the ASN detects that there's a human and locks down the store that you're in. Pushing a hidden button summons a robot sentinel to check on it, which is good for getting the door open, but bad because now there's a robot that wants to kill you. As you progress through the mall more and more, O5 units activate and you find out more about what's happening. These robots are killing any human they see and stuffing them into body bags. Even the poor IC units are catching strays in this war. You eventually get the UltraView module, which helps you bypass some security measures by being able to see fingerprints on touchscreens. On your way to use this new little hack, You're probably fine, just walk it off. Then you vacate the mall. Unless you want to stop by the arcade and play more gun show for, the plot. On your way out, once again you nearly collapse. This time you hear a voice in your head.
Days pass, but nothing changes. It's like time forgot to take me with it.
The only other place the tram can go is the living quarters, so that's where you head to try to find Kei Koyama. This area also has O5 units on patrol that you need to evade in order to survive. Going through the rooms in the living quarters reveals a lot about what's going on with Union Plaza. There seems to be some sort of illness on the station, with John Cooper being patient zero. A moonquake occurred not too long ago. He went to investigate and came back experiencing chronic headaches, memory loss, and hallucinations. He also started hearing a voice in his head that gives him instructions, and he said sounds like his own voice. His illness appears to be highly contagious, as others were infected by this as well. John also mentions that upon returning from assessing the damage from the lunar quake, the Type 05 robots started acting strangely, especially regarding something that he recorded on his outing. A body with something growing out of it. Going to Kay's bunk reveals that she's not there, but her badge is, and that's all that we really need. We also get to see the video that John recorded that triggered the O5s to put everything on lockdown. So now all you need to do is go back to the ASN terminal and back at the ASN terminal, you use Koyama's badge for the badge credential, and you use your black light feature to see the fingerprints for the security code. There the IC unit reveals that the final step in getting through is to shoot him, which presents a really big moral conundrum. Can you really shoot this cute little robot who has been nothing but kind to you? The only member of the Automaton Uprising who doesn't want to kill you? I mean, honestly, without IC, you probably wouldn't have made it this far. Inside the control room, you find John Cooper's body along with his final recording.
I tried. I tried to reach you. Yes. Please. It's beautiful. Thank you.
As a side note, how did the recording just coincidentally stop right after he died? It's interesting because here he talks about trying to reach someone, when before he just wanted to shut down the ASN. Checking the logs of the ASN, you can confirm that John's video is what triggered the Containment and Resource Conservation Protocol, which is why the robots started killing people and stuffing them in body bags. You have to do a few steps to reveal the core of the ASN so you can debug it. It's a relatively simple process, though the system screams at you every time you touch anything. Soon enough, you're able to shoot it and shut it down. You're then taken on some kind of trip, and then you wind up somewhere completely different, unsure of how you got there. The technology here seems significantly older than it did on Union Plaza, and at the end of the hallway is an ominous looking door. It's locked though, so we can't go there yet. Wander around enough and you eventually find yourself in the middle of what is known as the archive. The systems are shut down, so you have to reboot it. Looking at computer terminals and documents around the area reveals that this ward was last in use in the late 1970s. They were researching an area known as the Canal, which showed signs of life on the moon. This is the same canal that John stumbled upon. However, this discovery came at a cost because they lost a crew member named Edith. After this, they instituted a rule where each expedition would require 2 people tethered together. In the reception area, there's a new upgrade for the Cat, an interface module that will grant you access to doorways. You also find out this crew from 20 years ago was being stalked by a tag-along creature who can only be seen through, conveniently, the interface module. So now your goal is to use your interface module to upgrade your clearance level in order to get this 1978 workstation going. It is pretty curious that you managed to accomplish your goal, which in this case was to debug the ASN, or in your case, completely blow it up, and yet your character still has a single track mind to do something. Exploring the common areas, you find out that there's a door in the bathroom that's been rigged to a keypad. Per the diary of this person, who is heavily decomposed by fungus, James is the one who shut himself in there when things started to go south, and he's the only one with level 2 clearance. Callie, that's this person, was able to gather evidence that she believes could help unlock this keypad, and she uploaded it to the main server. So, you gotta go restart the archive servers. The final step in rebooting the servers requires you to scan the screen to show that you have a level 1 clearance with your interface module. So, that's what the people were calling Entity A, some sort of creature born on the moon. He's only sometimes visible to the naked eye, but will always be visible through the interface module, and he roams the common areas and will kill you on sight. Pretty much everything you do for the rest of the game will be done while having Entity A on your ass. As I was saying before, restarting the server got you access to Callie's clues that she gathered from James's belongings, which will get you eventually the code to James's keypad. On the other side of this door is what is known as the vestibule. A crew member named Dr. Weber used this area to set up tests to help people mitigate the psychosis they were experiencing from whatever was going on with the canal. Though to be honest, I did not feel like doing those tests helped my psyche in any way, shape, or form. Just take a look at this. However, passing these tests, while not curing you of your psychosis, does give you access to James Mason's badge, which is what you needed to get security clearance level 2, which will get you access to the airlock. You also find out that James Mason locking himself away in the vestibule did not help him to avoid whatever Kool-Aid the other people were sipping on, because he too developed a very strong obsession with the canal towards the end of his life. It's also implied that he may have drowned himself to try to purify himself to go to the canal. On your way to the airlock, you can listen to this message from the founder of Prism, William Davis.
I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to each and every member of Prism. For your tireless work, your dedication, and your remarkable foresight. I suspect those back home are utterly unprepared for what we shall find. Once the ward is operational, our real work begins, and I look forward to it with great anticipation.
Time for some moonwalking, and while we're staring into the infinite abyss of space, I just wanted to say that I hope you're doing well. I know things can suck and feel hopeless and feel inevitable, and sometimes we feel very alone and challenged in this life, but I hope you also know that you are loved and there are people in your life that you can reach out to. And I just wanted to say I appreciate you for making it to this point in the video. Your goal here is to obtain security clearance level 3. Once again, you are stalked by Entity A, who has somehow made it from that base to this base. You might think you're able to waltz into the control room, but you get turned away because you're infected by a compound known as EL9. EL9 is probably fine, don't stress it, you're good. In the next room, you find a sheet showing the timeline of symptoms for people infected by whatever all this is, with headaches being a day 1 thing, hallucinations being a day 7 thing, coughing uncontrollably being a day 30 thing, and death being something that happens by day 60. Okay, maybe you're not fine. So your goal now is to find a decontaminant that you can use to hopefully get into the security room. You see a security badge left on the table that will hopefully... The terminals around here show you that there is a second life form known as Entity B. She was discovered dead in the ward after choking on an apple from the tree in the middle of the archives. Finding the antidote to EL9 gets you access to the control room, where you find William Davis was rather obsessed with Entity B. In fact, that is his corpse right next to part of Entity B's corpse. Next to his corpse, you find his badge. This badge number gives you the credentials you need to press forward and hopefully get that security clearance. While doing a bunch of random bullshit that you somehow know that you have to do, including draining a basin of liquid, You get another bout of the sickies, and that gives you a vision of Entity B and presumably Entity A as a fetus. Making your way to the room with security clearance, you find a plaque saying an ongoing cycle of natural actions and patterns. There's a recording of William Davis's final moments before he died next to Entity B, as well as a journal documenting his obsession both with her and with the canal. And finally, there's video footage of the discovery of Entity B's corpse. You get security clearance 3, and it's time to head back to the ward to get to the canal, according to what your cat tells you that you're supposed to do. Once again, it's really weird that your gun's telling you exactly what you need to do and how to do it. You say goodbye to Entity A, then head back out to the airlock to make your way back to the ward. All that's left to do is align some prongs and do something. Don't question it. In the ecography room, there's a Dr. Weber voice clip where she talks about the moon going through contractions. Okay. Then you need to go to the ripening and induction terminal and inject the moon with amniotic fluid. A lot of birthing references. On the way, you nearly collapse but manage to lock in and finish the job.
Keep pushing forward.
The lunar base starts collapsing, so you need to get out of here and take the door to the canal. If you remember way back when we first got to the second base, there was a door that was locked. You know the one. That's where we're headed. That's all we gotta do. We just gotta make our way over there. Turns out all Entity A wanted was to be an iPad kid. You turn on the screen, show him the video of Entity B, who is presumably his mother, and he lets you on your way.
You've come so far. One final step.
Going to the canal shows you a room with presumably hundreds of decomposing bodies and a sphere in the middle, from which you see yourself being born, but you're also an Entity A-like figure. Then, just before the credits roll, there is a sequence showing that 26 years later, so in December of 2025, an expedition was sent to find what came of the prison facilities. They lost contact with the crew, managing to get only this photo from them. So I guess you could say that people being lured to the moon and getting lost there is a routine occurrence. Routine is a game where after finishing it and pondering on it for a bit, it got more and more unsettling for me. And maybe the most unsettling thing about this is the conclusion that you were doomed from the start. You wake up experiencing day 30 symptoms of this infection, meaning you are dying, you are hallucinating, and you are an unreliable narrator. If you are paying close attention while playing, the signs are there, though they may appear to be simple plot holes or maybe leaps in logic. John Cooper changing his goal from shutting down the ASN to reaching some unspecified you was one of the hints, and another major hint is your personal computer continuing to give you orders even though you finished the one task you were supposed to do, and there was no way that your computer could be updated to know what happens next. In fact, you can find memos saying that shutting down the ASN would be catastrophic because it also controls the life support systems at Union Plaza. As you progress through the story, it becomes evident that the ASN was responding logically to a biological threat, because John Cooper brought a deadly pathogen on board Union Plaza, but destroying the security network doesn't save Union Plaza because it's already beyond saving. So somewhere along the way, you start hallucinating objectives to complete. But for what purpose? It's because the moon's haunted. There's some sort of fungal life form, not too dissimilar from cordyceps, that is taking control of other life forms to serve its own purposes and secure its own survival. To do so, it influences the target's thoughts, actions, and even what they perceive with their own eyes and ears. And this fungus has clearly caused dozens, if not hundreds, of people to try to further its cause. It's just that most of them ended up getting stopped by the Type 05 robots or died before they could get to the end. It's the second half of the game in which it becomes more evident that you are not a reliable narrator. You black out upon disabling the automated security network and somehow wind up somewhere completely new, and your new objective becomes to enter the canal, something that the others were clearly driven to do with some sort of delusional fanaticism. It appears that the end goal of the fungus is to create its own version of human life by impregnating the moon, I guess? Entities A and B seem to be early attempts at this. My guess is that by controlling people, the fungus can drive them to the canal where it will decompose and assimilate them. Then maybe it uses that in order to construct its own version of human life. This would offer up an explanation as to why the voice in your head is very clearly William Davis, the founder of Prism, who is already dead. We have seen his corpse. It is covered in fungus. It is right next to Entity B, for which he had this massive obsession crush over. And it has such a stranglehold on you as a character that you literally develop a compound that could kill the fungus, but you use it merely to gain access to a key code that will help you get to the canal, which I guess is like the birthing canal. The final objectives of Routine involve the moon going through contractions, you inject it with amniotic brine, you induce its labor, and you go to the canal to see it all through as it assimilates you and creates this new life form. And then presumably it prepares to lure in the next crew 26 years later. An ongoing cycle of natural actions and patterns. In addition to being a horror story where you become the moon's midwife, Routine is a story about the tenacity and perseverance of life. You go through absolute hell to complete your objectives. While at first it seems like it's for the preservation of human life on the moon, you eventually find out that it's for the other lunar species. Also, throughout the game you are shown imagery of the hollyhock, which is a flower known for both its resilience in tough environments, as well as being a symbol of fertility and growth. Dr. Weber mentions that seeing a time-lapse of a hollyhock in bloom is the only thing that can calm down the disturbed crew members as they start to slowly lose their minds. And the flowers are recreated by the fungus in the image sent back to Earth after the final expedition in 2025. And I think this is really cool in a metatextual context where Routine is a game that took 15 years to develop. In a way, this could show Lunar Software's resilience and their tenacity in bringing this game to life. Thankfully though, Lunar Software did not need to possess the bodies of hundreds of individuals in order to bring Routine into this world. At least I don't think so. But anyway, my name is freaking Nick, thanks for watching.